Well, it's our first month of gains in 11 months in Greater Vancouver and the Fraser Valley. The MLS Home Price Index ticked up about $8,000 this month, landing around $948,000, down from just over 1.2 million last March 2022.
So is the bear market officially over? Well, I'd be a little bit cautious. Prices typically move up in the spring, so there's a heavy dose of seasonality in the numbers. However, the primary driver here is the extremely low amount of new listings.
And while we are seeing some prices up about 10% from a few months ago, mainly detached houses are selling $100,000 to $150,000 higher than they were a couple of months ago. For the most part, the rest of the market is remaining relatively flat. We are seeing townhouses start to move up a bit too, but sales are still at record lows. They're about 40% below the 10-year average. And same with new listings. They're about 42% below the 10-year average as well.
So if you take a look at this graph, you can see the sales for every February since 2005. And what a month we just had. The lowest in the last 18 or so years here. And if you look at a similar graph for new listings for every single February, this month has blown everything else out of the water over the last 18 years. It's not even close.
And typically what we see is going into spring, especially March, it's prime listing season. There are a lot of people listing their homes, and we are just not seeing that this year. It is almost half the amount of listings of what it normally is. And that's because sellers in Vancouver, they don't want to list unless they know they're going to get a good price for their property and it's going to sell quickly. And everybody's just been bombarded with such bad news about the real estate market over the last 12 months. And it has been really bad. Sales are so low. Prices have declined up to $600,000 in some neighborhoods. And sellers are just going, hey, I don't want to sell in this market. Now, what's interesting is we are starting to see pockets where the prices have bumped up 100, 150. People are getting multiple offers. And then they send out a flyer. I saw this in a complex last week. Hey, we just sold at this big price, and all of a sudden 3 sellers on that street all listed the week after because they went, oh, wow, it's a good time to sell again. Now, those are all sitting there. Are they going to sell? I don't know. So you can see how sellers need this expectation of a positive market to actually get on the market and bring that new inventory in. And what was happening last year is we were all predicting, oh my goodness, spring's going to be chaotic. All these new listings are going to pour on from all these distressed sellers. You know, everybody's payments are going up massively because of interest rates. And what happened is that basically banks just extended and pretended like everything was fine. So they jacked up rates from like 1.5 to like 6% on a lot of these mortgages, a lot of these variable rate mortgages, but they kept the payments every month the same. And you might say like, well, how the heck did they do that? Well, what they did is they just shifted the amount that was being paid from principal over to interest. And now a lot of these people, 25% of the mortgages held by banks like TD, amortization's over 35 years now. So it's going to take them over 35 years to pay off that mortgage at the current rate. And we're going to talk about this more in a separate video, so keep an eye out for that. But basically, because of this, we're seeing a massive release of tension on sellers, and they're able to just sit in their properties and not sell.
So another major topic is the Vancouver to Fraser Valley price gap. At the peak of the work from home age, the HPI index for the Fraser Valley was only $62,000 or 5% below Greater Vancouver. That gap has now widened to 15%, $169,000, as the Fraser Valley prices continue to decline further than Greater Vancouver.
This is still a much smaller gap than we had back in 2019 when the price was over $200,000 difference between Greater Vancouver and Fraser Valley, which is about 25%. So that shrunk super tight during COVID, and then now it's spread, but it's still not as big a spread as it was historically. So it remains to be seen whether we get back to that historical average, either by Vancouver holding and Fraser Valley declining more, or even Fraser Valley holding and then Greater Vancouver prices going up. So we'll see what happens. Or maybe that gap is just here to stay now with work from home. And also Fraser Valley prices are still about 35% above where they were in 2019. So it's got a bit more to fall than Vancouver, where a lot of prices are in line with 2019, and condos in areas like Brentwood and downtown Vancouver are still below 2019 prices. There's a much stronger base on prices in Greater Vancouver.
Yeah. And we already saw that a little bit this month for Greater Vancouver. It grew a lot more than Fraser Valley.
That's right. The stats are showing that more properties are selling over asking in Vancouver, Greater Vancouver. They're selling faster. They're getting more offers. The prices are going up more. Everything's just a better market in Greater Vancouver than the Fraser Valley right now.
Yeah.
So let's go through a couple anecdotes here. We already talked about that townhouse in Langley that sold for like $400K over asking, and all the other sellers popped up after it. There's another house in Langley. It was listed at 1.2 in July and it couldn't sell. We're talking like July 2022. Like that was like 8 months ago. Now it just relisted for 1.19 and they get sold for like 1.188. Super good price compared to what it was in the summer, which basically says that like we're back at summer prices.
Yeah. Another example of where our prices are at is taking a look at the same floor plan, Langley townhouse, and sales over the year for that. So in May 2019, it was at $626,000. Jumped up to $815,000 in April 2021. And then we peaked out at $1.1 million in February of last year. And then this summer in July, one sold for $832,000. And then another one just sold for $851,000 this February. So it hasn't moved much since summer.
Another example, we wrote an offer on a condo where the owner was actually defaulting on their mortgage. They could no longer make their payments. There was liens registered on title. They couldn't make their strata payments. And what's crazy is they actually ended up getting multiple offers and selling for like $300,000 over what they originally paid for this. So they made hundreds of thousands of dollars, even though they were about to get foreclosed on. And that's just kind of the story of Vancouver real estate is even though people are in trouble, the prices are still so high above what most people paid that they're still going to make money when they sell. And it's just really interesting. And this owner, they actually went away on vacation and we're trying to get a hold of them for a showing. And it was like they're on vacation while they're getting foreclosed on, but they're getting so much money for their condo that they can go away. So yeah, it's crazy, just crazy.
So current opportunities in the market. We were talking with a rental property manager this month, and he said condos in Burnaby have the highest rates of return. Sure enough, we ran the calculation on a couple of units, and you can get a cap rate that exceeds 4% out there.
Now, some listings are selling for really, really good dollars, particularly detached houses, about 100 and 150 more than they were in the fall. So if you're a seller, great opportunity to capitalize on that. If you're trying to sell last year, you're dealing with 30, 40 showings spread over the course of a couple months, offers falling apart, all this garbage. The market's much better now. We're going to be selling a detached house in Surrey this week. It's probably going to sell the first week on the market. We're probably going to get multiple offers on it, and it'll be totally painless for the sellers, hopefully. And the price is higher than what it would have been in the fall. So good opportunity for sellers now, especially in detached, and townhouses now are seeing it too. Make that move, sell that property painlessly. And if you're a buyer, the opportunity we see is maybe not getting caught up in that frenzy. It's totally bizarre. We've got news that a Silicon Valley bank is illiquid. You know, all this economic headwinds. Canada just printed a 0% Q4 GDP growth. And yet people are getting into bidding wars and just going bananas over these detached houses in Surrey right now. So as a buyer, that's 100% inventory driven. Our sales numbers are not picking up. And I'll repeat that in the Fraser Valley, at least in Vancouver, they are a little bit. In the Fraser Valley, yes, there's more sales due to it being springtime, but if you seasonalize the sales rate, they are not accelerating. And so they're still way, way below average. I expect that to probably continue through the remainder of the year. So what we have right now is a 100% inventory driven rally. And hopefully we get some more listings this spring. We have not yet. We're halfway through March and oh my goodness, it's brutal. But if I was a buyer, I am a buyer. I'm going to be buying my own home, hopefully in the next 12 to 24 months. I thought about doing it this spring. I just said, you know what? I don't know if I want to get caught up in this craziness right now. So I would be very selective about what you buy. Don't let yourself go bananas and crazy after some single listing. Be selective, be careful, be smart about it. It's not really the time to just eat into the market right now.
If you liked our video, don't forget to subscribe and follow us.